It started like any other Monday morning, except that I already knew I was in trouble. My name is Jake Ward, a 22-year-old senior at Crestfield Academy, a private university known for its strict professors and reputation for excellence. On paper, I was everything a student should be: organized, quiet, reliable. But beneath that calm exterior, I carried a secret no one could ever know. For as long as I could remember, I'd been drawn to things I wasn't supposed to be: soft fabrics, delicate perfumes, the quiet thrill of transformation. It wasn't about pretending to be someone else. It was about unlocking a version of myself I never got to show. But I kept that hidden carefully, tucked away behind assignments and fake smiles. The only person who ever came close to finding out was Professor Isabella Cross, my strict psychology instructor. She was the type of woman who could read people like open books, with sharp eyes that made you feel seen and stripped bare. I admired her and feared her in equal measure. She was brilliant, confident, and utterly terrifying when disappointed. And lately, she'd been disappointed in me. I had missed a major deadline, an experimental psychology report worth 40% of my final grade. The reason? My experiment had taken a turn I couldn't explain to anyone. What started as a study on identity had spiraled into something personal, something that crossed the line between research and self-discovery. I knocked on her office door that morning, my hands cold. "Come in." Her voice cut through the silence. Her office was exactly as I remembered: clean, minimal, and scented faintly of jasmine. She looked up from her laptop, glasses perched on the edge of her nose. "You're late again, Mr. Ward," she said, her tone even. "You've been slipping lately. That's not like you." I know, Professor," I stammered. I had trouble finishing the assignment." She gestured to the chair across from her. "Sit. Explain." I hesitated, then sat down. The weight of her gaze felt unbearable. I tried to explain that my project had been about identity exploration, that I had designed an online role swap experiment, but I didn't tell her that I had become my own test subject, secretly documenting what it felt like to present as female online, even sending pictures of myself in disguise. When I finally stopped talking, she leaned back in her chair. "So, you blurred the line between your research and your reality," she said quietly. "That's risky." Her tone wasn't angry, just curious. "And that scared me even more. Perhaps you need to learn what it truly means to understand identity," she said after a moment, her eyes narrowing. "Not just on paper, but in practice." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Let's call it an immersive correctional experience," she said, standing and walking toward the cabinet behind her. "You need to understand your subject from the inside. If you're going to study transformation, you should experience it properly." Before I could respond, she turned, holding a sleek black box. She placed it on the desk in front of me. "Open it." Inside was a set of cosmetics: foundation, eyeliner, lipstick, everything neatly arranged, and a folded note. My breath caught. "Professor, this is—" "Your next assignment," she interrupted. "You will document your psychological and emotional responses over the course of 1 week. Full immersion. You'll present as your experiment subject. No exceptions." My heart pounded. Was this a punishment? A test? "Professor, this feels unethical." She smirked slightly. "Unethical? Or uncomfortable? There's a difference." I didn't know how to respond. She turned away, signaling that the discussion was over. "Either you accept this," she said, her tone final, "or you fail the course. Consider this your last chance to prove that your research has merit." I left her office in a daze, the black box heavy in my hands. That night, I sat alone in my dorm, staring at its contents. The mirror on my desk reflected my anxious face, pale and uncertain. I picked up the lipstick, deep rose, smooth and gleaming under the light. My pulse quickened. It wasn't just a punishment. It was an invitation. A dangerous one. As I applied the first streak of color, I felt something shift inside me. The same forbidden curiosity that had driven my experiment now felt real. Too real. My reflection blurred between who I was and who I might become. And somewhere, beneath that growing sense of unease, A voice whispered that maybe Professor Cross hadn't just been testing me. Maybe she'd been planning this all along. The first night I tried to sleep after that meeting, I couldn't. The box sat on my desk like a dark secret, its contents gleaming under the dim dorm light. I told myself it was just makeup, just another assignment. But the more I repeated that, the less I believed it. By morning, curiosity had already eaten through my resistance. I opened the note again, reading her neat handwriting. Document every step. Record not just how you look, but how you feel. The mind adapts faster than the mirror. Her words echoed in my head as I stood in front of the mirror. My breath fogged the glass. I picked up the foundation, hesitating for a moment, then dabbed it onto my skin. My reflection softened. My jawline, sharp and masculine, blurred slightly. The concealer followed, the powder, the faint blush. It was mechanical at first, just color and texture. But when I added the eyeliner, the transformation started to feel personal. My eyes looked different, larger, expressive. I didn't see Jake anymore. I saw someone unfamiliar, someone softer. Then came the lipstick. The rose color from last night still haunted me. I uncapped it and slowly dragged it across my lips. The sensation, smooth, deliberate, sent a chill down my spine. I caught myself smiling faintly, and that terrified me. I quickly shut everything and went to class, but I couldn't focus. My mind kept wandering back to that mirror. Every reflection, windows, phones, even polished surfaces, felt like it was waiting for me to look again. That's when I got the message. Unknown number. You're late for your first session. Room 204, Psychology Lab. I froze. There was no name, but I didn't need one. It was her. When I arrived, Professor Cross was waiting. She was in a white lab coat this time, her expression unreadable. Sit down, she said, motioning to a chair in front of a large mirror surrounded by soft lights. Professor, I think this is going too far. She silenced me with a glance. You agreed to full immersion. I expect you to take this seriously. She gestured toward a rack of clothing behind her. Dresses, wigs, heels. My pulse skyrocketed. Those are for the assignment? I asked weakly. Yes, she said, almost casually. Your experiment was about identity performance. Now you'll explore how identity shapes perception. You'll assume your subject's role completely, from appearance to behavior. I couldn't speak. Jake, she said, stepping closer. You can walk away, but if you do, you'll fail. And everything you've built here, your degree, your recommendations will vanish. Your choice. Her eyes met mine, calm but piercing. The pressure in that moment was unbearable. Part of me wanted to say no, to walk out. But the other part, the curious, restless side that had started this, wanted to know how far this could go. I nodded. Her lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. Good. Let's begin. She moved around me like a sculptor preparing her canvas. She tied my hair back, applied foundation with confident strokes, and adjusted a wig of chestnut curls on my head. Her touch was precise, professional, but there was an intensity to it, too. When she finished, she handed me a simple sundress. Put this on. I hesitated. Behind the screen, if you prefer, she added. The fabric felt impossibly light in my hands. Behind the divider, I undressed and slipped into it, my breath uneven. The dress hugged my body differently, strangely delicate, exposing how tense I was. I stepped out slowly. Professor Cross stood by the mirror, arms crossed. When she saw me, her expression softened, almost approving. Now, she said, what do you see? I turned to face the mirror. A stranger looked back. A young woman with gentle eyes, trembling lips, and a posture that screamed discomfort and curiosity. I don't know, I said quietly. It doesn't feel like me. Then make it you, she whispered. Her words lingered as she circled me. Walk. Speak. Move as she would. Don't think, just feel. I tried, awkwardly. My steps were uneven. My voice faltered. She corrected me, guiding my posture, adjusting my tone. Every small movement made me more aware of the shift inside me, the strange mix of shame, fascination, and something dangerously close to excitement. Hours passed. By the time she dismissed me, I was drained. She handed me a mirror again. "Take a photo," she said, "for your report." I did. But when I looked at it, I didn't see a costume. I saw someone real. That night, I couldn't bring myself to wash off the makeup. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the faint pressure of the wig against my scalp and the scent of perfume clinging to my skin. And for the first time, I wondered if this punishment was changing more than just my appearance. Days turned into weeks. Each session pushed me further. Professor Cross began addressing me as Emily, a name she said suited the study subject. At first, I resisted, but soon, I found myself responding automatically. She made me study behavioral femininity, gestures, tone, social interactions. She insisted I go outside dressed that way, even if only briefly, to gather real-world data. The first time I did, I felt exposed and electric. Every glance felt like a spotlight. Every step in heels felt like defiance. But it wasn't humiliation I felt. It was liberation tangled with fear. The line between Jake and Emily blurred fast. I started documenting emotions I didn't understand. Nervousness gives way to calm when people smile. Voice feels more natural when I stop forcing it. Why does removing the wig feel like erasing someone? I didn't tell her about those notes. One evening, when I arrived at the lab, the lights were dim. She was sitting by the mirror again, waiting. "You've adapted quickly," she said, studying me. "Do you like who you're becoming?" "I'm just doing the assignment," I replied. She smiled faintly. "Are you sure?" Her tone carried something unspoken, something that made my stomach twist. That night, as I left, I caught my reflection in the glass door. Jake looked faded. Emily looked alive. But then, the dreams began. I'd wake up to faint traces of perfume on my skin, when I hadn't worn any. My closet, once filled with shirts and jeans, now had hangers with delicate blouses and skirts I didn't remember buying. When I tried to confront Professor Cross about it, she simply said, "The mind adapts faster than the mirror, remember?" The more I tried to resist, the stronger the pull became. By the end of that week, I didn't need her instructions anymore. I found myself reaching for makeup before class, adjusting my hair, sitting differently. Not because I had to, but because it felt right. And yet, deep down, I could feel her presence in every choice. As if this transformation wasn't entirely my own. One night, I returned to my dorm to find an envelope on my desk. Inside was a single sentence written in her familiar handwriting. "Tomorrow is your final evaluation. Come prepared." I didn't sleep that night. The black box was back on my desk, its lid slightly open, as if waiting for me. By morning, I wasn't sure if I was still doing this for a grade, or for something else entirely. The following week at school felt like walking through a minefield. Every time I heard the sound of heels clicking down the hallway, my heart would leap into my throat. The memory of that night in detention, of sitting in front of Ms. Rivera, wearing that wig, that makeup, those clothes, refused to fade. She hadn't told anyone. I knew that because no one looked at me differently the next day. No whispers, no laughter, no humiliation. But that silence terrified me even more than if she had exposed me. Because silence meant she was planning something. I tried focusing on my lessons, but every time Ms. Rivera's voice rang out in class, calm and controlled, my stomach would tighten. She was as professional as ever. No smirk, no comment, not even a glance that suggested what had happened between us. But then, after class one afternoon, she called out softly, "Jake, can you stay behind for a moment?" Every muscle in my body froze. The students filed out one by one. When the door finally shut behind the last of them, I turned to face her. "Yes, Ms. Rivera?" She stood behind her desk, eyes fixed on me. Then she smiled, that same faint, knowing smile that had haunted me for days. "I wanted to check on your progress. You've been quieter lately." "I've just been busy," I muttered, unable to meet her gaze. "I see," she said, walking slowly around the desk. Her heels made a crisp sound against the tile floor, the same sound that filled my dreams now. You know, Jake, I've been thinking about that detention. About what I saw. My chest tightened. She continued, voice low, "You were surprisingly convincing." I blinked. What? As a girl. She tilted her head. It wasn't just a costume. You carried yourself differently, graceful, deliberate. I've seen theater students who couldn't pull off such authenticity. I was just following your instructions, I said quickly. She said, pausing close enough that I could smell her perfume, something floral, sophisticated, intimidating. Maybe. But part of me wonders if you didn't enjoy it. I swallowed hard. I didn't. Her eyes twinkled. Really? I couldn't answer. My silence betrayed me. Then she dropped a bombshell. I want you to help me with something. The drama department lost one of their lead actresses for the upcoming performance. They need a replacement, someone who can move gracefully, project emotion, and fit into her costumes. My pulse spiked. Wait, you're not suggesting. I already did, she said. I recommended you. I took a step back. You what? You can't do that. She folded her arms, amused. You want to pass English this semester, don't you? You're dangerously close to failing. But if you take on this role, I'll make sure your grade improves. It wasn't an offer. It was an ultimatum. Why me? I asked helplessly. Because, she said, her voice soft but sharp, I saw something in you that night. Something fragile but beautiful. You might deny it, but part of you wants to understand that side of yourself. Don't you? I'm not like that. Then prove it, she said with a smirk. Take the role. Perform. Show me you can do it without letting it consume you. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in my head like a curse. Prove it. Every logical part of me screamed to refuse. To tell her no. To walk away. But another part, the part that had felt something strange, almost exhilarating that night in detention, whispered that maybe she was right. I couldn't explain why, but I felt drawn to the challenge. So the next morning, I found myself standing in front of the drama room, heart pounding, as the director, Ms. Rivera beside him, introduced me to the rest of the cast. Everyone, this is Jake, he said. He'll be taking over the role of Lila. I caught the startled looks. Some students chuckled. Others raised their eyebrows. I wanted to vanish. The next few days blurred into a whirlwind of rehearsals. The costume designer, a cheerful senior named Mariah, was thrilled to have someone new to work with. You're gonna look amazing once we get everything fitted, she said brightly. I don't think I'm supposed to look amazing, I muttered. Oh, come on. You've got the bone structure for it, she teased. Let me see your face under better light. I froze as she tilted my chin up. Yes, some contour, soft foundation, maybe a nude lip. You'll photograph perfectly. I had no idea what any of that meant. By the end of the week, I found myself sitting in the makeup chair for the first full rehearsal. Mariah and her team worked fast. Foundation, powder, mascara, each step made me feel more detached from who I was. Then came the wig, long, chestnut brown waves that fell past my shoulders. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the person staring back. Wow, Mariah said softly. You could actually pull this off. My chest tightened again. Not from embarrassment this time, but from something stranger, deeper. A flicker of pride. Ms. Rivera appeared behind me, meeting my eyes in the mirror. I told you, she said softly. You have potential. I didn't know what to say. The rehearsal began. My lines stumbled out at first, awkward and unsteady. But as I moved, as I heard the echo of my heels against the stage, something changed. The rhythm of my steps, the flow of the skirt, the way the audience seats seemed to fade into shadow, all of it made me forget I was supposed to feel humiliated. Instead, I felt free. By the time we wrapped rehearsal, I was sweating, heart racing, but also exhilarated. As I walked off stage, Ms. Rivera approached me again. See, she said, smiling faintly. You can learn control. You can learn grace. Maybe this punishment isn't a punishment after all. Her words lingered in my mind the entire way home. That night, when I looked in the mirror, I couldn't stop picturing the reflection from earlier, the soft makeup, the delicate movements, the quiet confidence that had somehow emerged. For the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to forget it. The night of the performance arrived. I had told myself all week that I'd get through it, then shed Lila's skin forever. But when I stood backstage, the lights dim, the muffled chatter of the crowd seeping through the curtains, my heart pounded like it was trying to escape my chest. Mariah adjusted my wig one last time, whispering, "You've got this, girl." That word, girl, stung and soothed me all at once. I took a deep breath as Ms. Rivera appeared beside me, her arms folded, her expression calm but sharp. "Remember," she said softly, "this is your moment. Don't hold back." The curtain rose. For the next hour, I moved like someone else entirely. My voice trembled at first, but grew stronger with every line. I walked with confidence. I smiled when the audience laughed, and when the play reached its emotional peak, when my character broke down in tears, I wasn't acting anymore. I felt everything. The years of hiding, pretending, and fearing were all there, bleeding through my performance. When the curtain fell, the applause was deafening. Backstage, everyone surrounded me. Laughter, hugs, congratulations. Cameras flashed. Someone shouted, "You were incredible, Lila." For a moment, I forgot who I was supposed to be. Then, as the crowd thinned, I saw Isabella standing by the stage door. She wasn't supposed to be here. Her eyes were wide, her lips parted in shock. "Jake," she whispered. My blood turned to ice. "Isabella, I can explain." She shook her head, looking me up and down. You look different. Like..." Her voice broke. "Like you belong that way." I couldn't tell if it was accusation or awe. Before I could answer, Ms. Rivera appeared beside me, resting a hand on my shoulder. "He did beautifully, didn't he?" Isabella turned to her, confusion flashing to anger. "You did this to him?" Ms. Rivera smiled faintly. "I only helped him discover what was already there." "Jake, come on," Isabella said, her voice trembling. "Let's go home." But I didn't move. My body wouldn't obey. Because in that moment, I didn't know who Jake even was anymore. The silence between the three of us stretched. Ms. Rivera leaned in close, her whisper like silk against my ear. "You can take off the costume, Jake, but can you take off the feeling?" I swallowed hard, glancing at my reflection in the nearby mirror. Long lashes, soft curls, the faint shimmer of lipstick. My reflection stared back, eyes filled with something unrecognizable. Or maybe something real. Isabella's voice cracked. "Please, tell me this isn't you." And I wanted to. I wanted to say it was all a lie, a performance, a punishment. But when I opened my mouth, I don't know anymore. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Isabella's face fell. Ms. Rivera's smile deepened, victory flickering in her eyes. The stage lights flickered behind us, dimming to black. The last sound was the echo of heels, mine, as I stepped toward the mirror, unsure whether I was moving closer to freedom or to a new kind of prison. The curtain dropped on Lila's final act. But my story was just beginning.